subscribe.
Welcome everybody, welcome her, like I said, to the first Empower Her. And today we're looking at how to manifest your dream life selling online and making your goals a reality. So these sessions are going to be coming to you every single week on a Wednesday at midday with myself, Natalia Nicholson. It's a whole series that we put together to really have a place and a space where we can not only support one another, but also make sure we are building successful online businesses. The digital world has made it that as women, it's given us the flexibility to play all the roles that we play so well in life, being leaders, being business owners, being family women, being community leaders, you name it, we do have a lot of different roles. And the digital world has enabled us to give us that flexibility to be able to do all the things that we want to do. But mindset's important, and it's really, really key that we have focus. And you do have to have dreams, but to make your dreams goals, you have to work on them. And we're going to go through a system today to really get you to stop procrastinating and become more focused. And as you keep joining these masterclasses, being able to actually work more strategically to get the results that you want. So the sales that you get are intentional. You're not just wishing on a star and praying for it to happen some way. You've got a plan, you roll it out, and what you get back is what you plan to get back. So there's a lot of key different laws that we have to abide by to do this. So let's get started. Some of you know who I am, some of you don't. So I don't want to go on for too long. Um, you know, I come from the school of hard knocks. So in terms of having brands that I'm associated with that build your authority and, the whole Google thing, the long and short of it is I do come from the school of hard knocks. I've failed my way to success. I've understood the power of vulnerability. I've understood that when you're just honest and you're transparent and you can accept yourself for who you are, the world will see you and accept you for who you are. If anybody's going to call out your shortcomings or things that you're not quite comfortable with, let it be you. Okay, there's power in vulnerability. And I've found myself in a lot of places like Google, like British Telecom, like Lloyd's banking system, big brands, just from doing what I do, loving what I'm doing, and just being me. And the more I accept who I am and I embrace who I am, and I've gotten to the stage of now that I'm into my 40s where I actually like me, it's funny how life changes and more opportunities just keep coming your way. So yes, I have worked with a number of big brands, really helping to upskill businesses in this digital age. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. It runs through my veins. I'm the founder of an e-commerce web store. So I don't just talk from a place of knowledge. I talk from a place of utter experience of knowing what those fools feel like and getting it wrong. And it's the reason why I created this community, Women in Digital Business, so I could share what not to do and give you a clear understanding of what to do that actually genuinely, realistically, really works. It's not a pipe dream. But it wasn't always this way. It's taken me a long time. I first went into business in 2003. We're now in 2023. And it's really important to make sure that you've got the right mindset if you're going to be in this game and you're going to have a successful online business. It's really important that you understand all the different laws of life. So one of the great books that I read every single year is Think Rich, Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And it really does break down all the laws in life, that are just laws of life, not laws of man, laws of life, of how this world works. Okay. Having that desperation for money, quitting my job and not having that constant salary 17 years ago gave me desperation. I need the money, I need the money, I need the money. Constantly chasing the money when actually the money wasn't the problem, because even when money did fall into my lap, not having the knowledge and experience and understanding how to do things was a problem. If my dad was JP Morgan, I'd be a great financial investor. If he was a shoemaker, I'd be making brilliant shoes and knowing how to do it. So that desperation of money, it's almost like gambling. It gets you to keep trying things and getting, SOS, shiny object syndrome, of trying to emulate others that you come across, saying, yep, look what they do. They've got it right. I need to be doing that for my business. That shiny object syndrome gets us into trouble because you start doing things and you've got no strategy behind it. You're just shooting in the dark. Lack of self-belief. I struggled for years to get sales in. If I'm not going to believe in myself and I haven't aligned my customer with what I'm selling to my customer, well, I'm going to struggle to get sales in. And that lack of belief, that lack of self-confidence, that not really believing you can do it, that just following something and saying, please, 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 let the floodgates open, let me make some money. It can't be like that. It has to be strategic planning that gets you there. You have to be able to understand how to put customer mapping together and figure out strategically, step by step, how I'm going to get to where I want to get to. Okay, really important. So growth planning is really what made a big difference in my life. So I really want you to analyze where you are at this precise moment in time. I had to do this. I had to understand, where am I and where do I want to go? And that's what we're going to be looking at today. Identifying, like, what are those half-built bridges? What are the things that I'm doing, I'm not finishing, they're not working, I can't see the results, and actually they're just keeping me stuck. I'm going to try this, it's reels. Next thing is I want to start a podcast. Oh, actually, I figured out I need a lead magnet, so I need to put a webinar together. Oh, actually, I think I'm just going to be posting on different communities. That constantly doing something, not getting the results, and then stopping and starting something else. All these things, until I understood them, it didn't happen to me. And growth planning gets you to understand what to do and what not to do. How to optimize what I'm doing, how to measure. We're in the digital age, using data insights to really understand where you are for where you're going. Auditing the assets that you do have. What am I good at? Okay, I don't like speaking on video, but I'm a great writer, so I can write blogs. Like, understanding, the assets that you've got and how you're going to make them work for you. And also building a business that has a commercial framework that can withstand recessions, withstand COVID, and you really understand your marketplace. So this is how, for me, the digital world changed when I really started to understand what growth learning is. And it's just helped me to become and have a story and I've got into so many different areas. I am an advocate for diversity. I love everything digital and digital marketing and what it stands for. I've got into coaching, corporate coaching, creating content, having agency clients. There's a lot that's come out of me really understanding what growth planning is in just the last few short years. And this community is built that I can teach others the same, so you can get to where you want to get to. So essentially, who are we? We are women in digital business, and we really empower underrepresented women that don't feel seen, women that know they've got what it takes, but they feel like they can't fill in and they don't fit the status quo of what the world allows to be, having a wealthy, successful online business, and just want to have a voice, want to be heard, and they want to be successful. They've got that yearning. And we help you build strategic systems for your business that really get you to that 6-7 figure. So let's jump into today. This is where we're going to spend a lot of our time. So take page grabs, make sure you've got a notepad. Make this your time to really look into yourself and figure out, what are my goals? What am I working towards? Even if you feel like you've got this, in terms of your business, you need to be working towards the goals that you set for yourself. So if you have not set goals, you're just wandering in the dark. But let's think about, what are your goals? It's one of these things that sound really easy, like, what's your goals? It took me years to figure out exactly what my goals were. There's goals that you think you should have because the world makes you feel like you should have them, like in terms of wealth, like what with the social media, there's a life that you feel like you should be living, that you're wealthy. But is that really what you want? Okay, you need to ask yourself, like, what is your goals? What would really make you happy? And you have to take some time out to think about this. So think, like, if I had a year from now, like, where would I want to be? What position would I want to be in? Is that in terms of, your mindset, in terms of focus and planning? Maybe it's being able to manage your emotions. Maybe it's your work-life balance. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's the fact that your business isn't getting enough customers. Maybe it's the fact that you want to go from working for someone else to working for yourself. Maybe it's, you've got a business, it's making money, but it's not making no profit. Maybe you're time poor, but you can't start your own online business, or you feel like you don't have the digital skills. Whether it's business related, it's emotional related, family orientated, you've got goals. Write down what your goals are. And sometimes it's easier to say, okay, what do I want to change in the next 12 years? One of the things at Women in Digital Business I'm a great advocacy for is really setting smart, specific goals. Sometimes when we say, I want to be at 0 and I want to be at 10, I want a business that turns over millions, I want to own buildings, I want to travel, and you're in a place where you don't own a building yet, maybe you're not working and you're strapped for cash, that's a big jump. Okay, that's a big jump. So sometimes what you need to do is actually, to make your goals happen, your dreams turn into goals and your goals turn into reality, you need to set more bite-sized chunked time frames. So it might be the next 90 days, it could be the next year. You know you, so you understand what that might look like for you. So think about what your goals are. And even after this session, I want you to do this exercise. Get that notepad out, get Notion out, get whatever app you use, your phone, whatever the case may be. And I want you to think about, what are your goals? Because within your online business, if you want freedom, financial freedom, you want flexibility, a lot of the reasons why many women are starting online businesses, opening businesses the most out of any other group, that's underrepresented women, not just women. We are opening businesses up at the fastest rate. Think about, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? Be really clear on that, because you want to create a business model that's going to give you what your goals and focus are, because you will lose sight quickly, and that's how you can fall into that shiny object syndrome and all the things I told you that, you know, didn't quite go right for me, and it took me a long time to figure them out. So understand what your goals are, you know, and feel free right now, share what some of your goals are in the chat. I always love seeing, like, what are people's focus. Like, if you could say, where do I want to be 1 year from now, what would your goals be? What do they look like? Write them down, share them in the chat. Love to know what they are. Okay, so we often set goals, and we often set goals in January. A lot of us, you know, straight after that Christmas run, we always find that we're focused on making sure everything for this year, it just goes perfectly and we have the best year ever. And then what generally happens is we'll set some goals, and sometimes what can happen, we'll fall into what's called a failure cycle. You can see it on the screen. Okay, and when you're in that failure cycle, what can happen is that you'll set some goals, you'll get really excited about them. I'm getting out of this horrible job, I'm going to set my own business up, by this date I'll be out of here, I can replace my income, I'll have the freedom to travel, I can have children, I can spend more time with my children. There's so many different things for different people. None of us are the same. So we have this in our mind that we've set these goals, and then we get really excited. So now we're excited. Woo, I'm going to have, life is going to change. This is how I want it. And then you might not sometimes know what that starting point is, or what you're talking about becomes so big and you can't quite figure out where to start. You think, let me get my mind in order. I just need to, you know, clear my plate, not be doing so much at work, not be doing this, not be doing that. What you're actually doing is avoiding it. You're finding other things to do that you're just avoiding having to actually start what you said you was going to do now that the excitement phase is over. Then you've avoided it for as long as you can, and then it's the excuses. It's like, I didn't have to work so late, I'd have more of the mindset to be able to start my own business up. The children are just really stressful, I'm like an Uber driver, I've got to drop them here, there and everywhere, plus I've got to work. The excuses come, and some of you might be listening to me thinking, well, hang on a minute, that's a bit harsh. That's not excuses, that's a life of being a busy woman and having to juggle loads of things. I hear you, but it's an excuse in the fact that if we set out to do this goal and we got really excited about it, we have to figure out, how does that work into life? We need to be able to get the help, the resources, the tools. Make sense? Because otherwise, and this failure cycle, most people live their life in this cycle. You know, every now and again, I've always got to pull myself out of this. And we all have days where actually you just want to dwell in self-pity, and it's okay. But when you're aware of what you're doing, you start to become a lot more laser focused. So after the excuses, what happens next comes blame. So that's when it's like, oh, it's my boss. If he just allowed me and didn't keep asking me to do things at lunchtime, there's that finger waving. And that finger waving, everybody's probably heard of it. You've always got 3 fingers that point back to you. We all have the power to change our life or remove ourselves from situations or avoid red flags. And sometimes it's just knowing how to do that without causing too much conflict, which sometimes can affect our mental health and affect how we are as people and how we want to enjoy life. Okay, so sometimes we have to look at our lives and think, okay, how do I stay out of this failure cycle? What are my red flags? Okay, what should I do to avoid? What's going to make it better? Okay. I'm going to read them out afterwards. I've seen one person's put in the chat where they want to be. Keep putting it in the chat because I'd love to go through them afterwards. It's really empowering to hear yours back and hear other people's. So I want you to all put in the chat. Come on, put it out there into the universe. Where would you like to be in the next 12 months? So getting back to how to stay out the failure cycle, I seem to be talking about a lot of what it's like to be in it, but the purpose of this workshop is to get out of it, to set the right goals and manifest what you want. So let's get back to giving you some tips on how to stay out of this bad boy, because you don't want to be in this bad boy. This bad boy will really just keep you down and you just keep living life in the past. We'll get onto that. So how do I stay out of this failure cycle? Well, number one is try and set the right goals. Quite often we set the wrong goals. So we can set goals of, I don't know, maybe wanting to lose weight, but losing weight isn't even for you. Maybe it's for someone else. Maybe we set goals on the expectation of our parents or a mentor or a loved one where we feel like that's what they want us to do and we want to make them happy. Sometimes we set goals on wanting materialistic things because they seem like the status quo of the type of things that you should be getting, but is that really what makes you happy? Sometimes we don't even know what makes us happy and we need to experiment and try. But because we've got blueprints that tell us, don't be a jack of trades and a master of anything, don't be humble, don't speak up. These are all the things that make us not seen. And actually, as underrepresented people, we want to be seen, whether you've got a different dialect, a different color of hair, your skin, culture, religion, okay, sexuality, it doesn't matter. We've all got the right to be seen. So try and understand what your goals are. Don't set the wrong goals. It might sound bizarre, like, of course I know they're my goals. So, we can often fall into that failure cycle because of the wrong goals. Because if you've got the wrong goals, and especially if there's somebody else's goals, that motivation, inspiration, it runs out after a while. So you've got to make sure you've got the right goals for you. Having a clear focus, stay out of that failure cycle by having a clear focus. As entrepreneurs, we're often so focused on so many different things, and this is my problem. And I promise you, I'm just the worst at it. All entrepreneurs are, and you've got to learn how to cap it. Not that shiny object syndrome where you're trying to do 10 joint ventures, 5 businesses, changing the world, take care of your own family or a mum or an aunt or the community. It's a lot. So make sure you've got a clear focus. And that's why I say to you, time frames are important. By sometimes saying the next 90 days or the next 12 months, these things are more achievable rather than life-changing things that happen over a period of time and saying, I'm going to go from where I am now straight to there. So make sure you've got a clear focus, like where do I want to be? Do I want to be running my own business or even be self-employed and be able to pay my own wages and anybody that works for me? That might be your goal in the next 12 months. And that's your focus. That's all you're focusing on. You don't want to set loads of goals. The minute you're doing that, I don't know, there's different areas of life. So if time you're doing that, all the different things in business, you're doing different things personally, you can see what happens when you've got too many things to focus on. It's too much. You want a clear focus, and that is what you want to focus on for that time period, and you want to get it. That's what manifestation is. You can't manifest like 20 things at the same time. You need to give that power to what it is that you've set out for the next, whether you've chosen 90 days, a month, or 12 months. So have a clear focus, understand, like, what is it I need to do in the now? Is it that my business is non-existent and actually what I need to get is a brand? Is it that my business needs some leads? I've got a brand, but actually I've got no one in the community or no one that's following me or engaging with me. So maybe your plan is to get that up. Maybe you've done all that and you need to now get sales. How do I do that? Maybe you've got the budget and you can do all 3 things of looking at brand awareness, leads, and sales. So understand where you are at the moment and understand, okay, where do I want to be? So no action plan. Again, when you're going from something from where, you haven't got a lot to something where you've got a lot, that's a big gap in between. So having an action plan for that's kind of a heavy job. So don't, bog yourself down thinking, oh, why can't I do it? It's just me. It's a lot. Like coming up with a whole action plan to go from a business that, I don't know, might have cost you 5K to set up 10, or even if you're making a profit, to wanting to get to 7 figures. That's a long way. Even if you're at 6 figures, it's still a way to go. And that duration of time is different for all of us. So it's important that we have an action plan. But to do an action plan for such a big step, again, will just make you end up in the failure cycle. So it's important that when you put an action plan together, it is for a set period of time and you're really specific. So what I mean by that is, what's my action plan for the next year? What's my action plan to do every month to get to that goal? What am I going to be doing every week? What am I going to be doing every day? What will I do every hour within my day, across my day? Okay, it's about having an action plan that's actually broken down. It's broken down into loads of little pieces, so you can work towards a strategic way of working and start getting little things done that will actually be giving you results. And little by little, you build your power. Okay, so action planning is key. Mental barriers is a huge one. It's actually probably one of the biggest ones, ladies, if you want me to be honest with you, in terms of falling into the failure cycle and not quite being able to reach those goals. And mental barriers generally tend to come from the past. So we have 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day on average. That's a lot. Okay, it's an awful lot. We do a lot of self-talk, and 90% of those thoughts actually come from the past. So whether that's you watched a show on TV and it's triggered some childhood memory, you know, it's a multiple of things. So sorry, I paused because I actually read an article yesterday that I felt like God was talking to me through this blog, where it said, you know, why for entertainment would anybody at the end of the day want to watch like anything like, you know, CSI or Law and Order? Because these programs have a lot of trauma in them. So why would you be, you know, watching something traumatic before going to bed? And I do think to myself, okay, that was for me, because sometimes I do shut down by having to watch something just to shut my brain down because it thinks so much. But it's the same thing. And when we are watching things that are high intensity trauma, it does bring you back to the past. And we spend many of our time, so we end up living in the past, and we remember all the things that are not going to help us in our journey. So we remember being told, you know, you're not going to maybe amount to nothing by a teacher. We remember things from our parents that we know in our time for where we're living now doesn't quite make sense, but you want to respect them. So we've got a lot of blueprints. So whether it's parents, it's teachers, it's siblings, it's aunts, it's community leaders, it's people that have impacted our lives, these have all built up a memory bank. It's your Google, and they often come into play, always telling you not good enough. Does stuff like this really happen to me? It's that self-talk, that negativity that gives you that lack of self-belief, that gives you that self-doubt. You have to try and get rid of it. Okay, you have to try and be able to live in the now and think towards the future and think about where you want to be now. To manifest successfully, you have to be able to literally use all your 5 senses and imagine how would those senses feel if you reach that goal. And literally what you're doing is you're manifesting that feeling. You thinking about the past, you having, you know, self-talk in your head. We use vision a lot. Whether you're sitting somewhere, your visual faculty, you're playing out things that maybe have happened in the past, you can play them out on how they happen in the future. Have you ever had a bucket list item that you've always wanted to do? On the screen of your mind, you play out how you think it's going to be, what a great day that you're going to have. That's how I need you to start thinking about your online businesses. But obviously you need to be able to work towards goals. That business is there as a vehicle to get you towards the goals that you've actually set, but not to end up in the failure cycle and set goals successfully. It's really important that you catch yourself thinking, CYT. I actually have that sticky note in my kitchen on the window to avoid my brain going into areas that are not productive, not bringing me any good vibration or doing anything for me. You want to catch yourself thinking, and you want to start living your life in the now and thinking about the future. If there's something about the past holding you back, you need to resolve that. You know, even when it comes around a lot of financial issues, I've been bankrupt before. You know, those issues, that negativity, that stigma, it held me back for a long time. Vulnerability pulled me out of that by admitting, you know what, everybody make mistakes. Yeah, I did make a mistake, but actually I learned a lot from it, and this is what I'm going to do with it. Okay, you need to pull yourself out of that. Do what it takes to pull yourself out of that, because if you're always living in the past, or you've got blueprints that are going to follow you in terms of your mindset for the journey that you're going into of having a successful business, you have to be able to change that. You have to be able to change your mindset. And that's why next week we're going to be looking at the billionaire mindset, of really starting to get your mind in tune with the successes that you're about to make, and understand that you have to understand that money is just a commodity. Okay, so don't live in the past. Mental barriers are a sure way. Know who you're talking to, know who your supporters are, know who your go-tos are in your circle. You know, really need to understand the mental barriers. you know, and just think 90% of our thoughts are focused on the past. So you want to change that. The self-talk you're giving yourself, the mental barriers, the visual faculty, the things that pop into your head about the past. Figure out whether it's through reading books about mindset, whether it's figuring out how to think more positively about yourself and loving yourself. You don't need to share it with anyone. You know you know yourself. What are the things that you really need to be working on in mindset to make sure that you can really stay, you know, clear, making sure that you've got no barriers, you can really focus on what it is that you need to do. It's like clearing your desk or clearing a room up. It's hard to work on a desk that's really cluttered. I need you to clear your mind and think about what are my goals. And it's like the Rocky film or a boxing film where you're training and you're getting ready for the boot camp and you're training every single day. That's where I want you to be. It's really important that you really analyze your goals and focus on them. And what this community is really going to help you do is put a plan and put a strategy together that's going to get you to your goals and where you need to be through setting up your online business. So how does all of what I've just told you, you know, relate? Oh, my mouse has gone all funny. How does all of this actually relate to business in terms of the goal setting? Well, I think you've gotten the point that you need to have clear goals to understand the true why behind your business and why you're setting it up and where you want your business to take you. This is an opportunity for those of you in the beginning where you might think, well, hang on, if this is my goal in the next 12 years, the idea and what I've started, would it realistically bring me that? And you need to start having an honest conversation with yourself. Maybe it's time to look at something else. Maybe that's your passion and there's a bigger why. So actually you might change your plan to a 2-year plan because maybe that's realistic. And understand, ladies, there's a clear difference between being realistic and being the pessimist. Makes sense? You have to have a belief. You have to have a belief in yourself that you can do this. You have to have a belief that against all odds, against anything unordinary, even if you've got a lot on, you can do this. But at the same time, I want you to be realistic for you, not for anybody else, not what's in a textbook, not what science says, but for you. What will you, if you feel like I've got this, I know I can do this, this strength is inside me, I know this knowledge, I'm great at what I do. If you're feeling anything like that or similar to that, well, you're in a place where you're ready to rock it, if that makes any sense. But you need to be able to be comfortable that within you, you feel like you've got this. It doesn't need to be understandable to anybody else other than yourself. Okay, because we can all achieve things. We've read stories of people going from rags to riches or having successful businesses in particular time periods. So I'm not trying to 1 minute for 1 minute trying to say to you, you have to be that realistic that, you know, you've got to be moving at a really slow rate. It's about working smart. And if you hang out in this community, these are the strategies that we're going to teach you. Okay, so I don't want to kill anybody's mojo. I really want to make that clear. So how does having the right goals relate to business? And it's all about the multiplier effect. You want to bring this into your mindset and you also want to bring this into your business. So I think I've hopefully gotten the point across that little steps make a really big impact. Okay, I haven't met a business owner yet that doesn't want more customers, more revenue and more profit. And ultimately, that is why we set businesses up. So there are certain specific strategy areas to focus on in terms of really multiplying your efforts. And this is what we look at week in, week out, loads of different strategies all around customer mapping, all around putting about growth strategy into your business. And today it's just about that multiplier effect, that understanding little by little you build your power. If you set your goals, you will reach them, but you need to put a strategy in place and you need to be able to keep chipping away and you will start to make effects and reach where you're going. And it doesn't have to be like the, you know, this overnight success story or this is how it goes. This is formulas and strategies that huge organizations have been using day in, day out, from small to huge. They went from startups to names, from ideas to corporations. And these are the type of strategies that are being used. They're just not taught at school or, you know, you're not just privy to actually understanding it and knowing it. Okay. So very common for people to just focus on promotional activities. So ways to get more to get more leads, to get more inquiries. Certain strategies will focus just on, you know, the multiplication of your efforts. It's loads of little things together. So it is the strategy. Okay. And just think about, for all of you that are doing something that does work, I want you to think about in terms of your efforts, what am I doing in my business that does work, and what am I doing that doesn't work? Okay, so lastly, let's just have a look at all the different areas that affect the multiplier effect. And I want you to think about your business and think about your goals. And then what we'll do is the weeks come on, we'll start working around a lot of these different areas. Next week, it is about mindset. You know, the first batch of these series is about the mindset. It is about having that focus. It is about giving you the right tools and resources. And then you can build out your strategy. Because to build a strategy out and you don't really understand your business down to a T and understand yourself is going to be quite difficult. So it's all about getting more customers, making more revenue and more profit, and having a strategy around that. So what is that strategy? It's looking at your customers. Some of you might not have any customers, and if you haven't, it's about looking at, okay, my brand, my product, my service, who is my target audience? And actually all businesses need to look at this. It's the number one thing when always change within my own businesses and clients' businesses has the biggest impact. Many business, even corporate businesses that have made money, have had to go in and do really deep dives into their customers. All of you would have heard terminologies like customer mapping, digital sales funnel, customer journey. This is because the world of business has realized that everything around your business and your success is centered around your customer. And ultimately, more customers bring more sales and revenue, they bring more profit, and they can also bring you more or less time and stress, depending on what customer segment you might have gone for. And within your business life, you will always be tweaking and changing something to get a better desired outcome, which ultimately would always bring you more sales and more profit. So the multiplier effect is looking at what you want out of life. It's looking at yourself. It's looking at what your strengths are. It's looking at what your red flags are and thinking, okay, this is the business for me. And many of you have started that business already, but it's now getting you to think about the model of your business and how you want to drive your business forward to success in terms of what you're trying to achieve. So it's always going to start off with, how do I get more customers? Okay. And if I double the customers, am I doubling sales and revenue? If I'm doubling sales and revenue, how do I get my customers to buy from me more frequently? Okay. How do I get my customers to actually increase the size of their transaction? These are all things that will bring more revenue and profit and money in. How do I get my high-end customers that actually spend a lot with me and don't bother me to buy X amount, so we're no longer market to the customers that don't buy much from us and give us the most headache, which leaves us the less time to drive this business forward, looking at time and stress. So the multiplier effect is just being able to look at your goals and look at the model of your business and think, how can I grow my business? And the little things that you keep doing. So first of all, you'd work on one area. So it's about customers. If you haven't got any customers, well, that means we need some leads or inquiries. If you haven't got leads and inquiries, do people even know who you are and are they aware of you? Well, it's about building up awareness and making sure you've got a brand identity to do that. You know, have I got all these things, but I don't have the sales coming in? What can I do to work on the sales? Is the problem with the customers? Okay, you see where this is going. But as you're looking at your business from a very strategic viewpoint, you've also got in mind the goals that you set out. And actually, is the business that you're building, or is the business that you're about to build, does it fit in, and will it actually reach that goal? And that's when you might look at your goals, or you might look at your business. But the two need to align, else otherwise you're going to start something where you're not going to get out of it what you wanted to get out of it. And it's a bit like a bad relationship. As time goes on, you can build resentment. Okay, so if you're in a place where you are looking for that increase, where you just want your business to start working, maybe you need some customers, maybe you need one customer, maybe you need double the amount of customers, maybe you have customers but it's not getting you the revenue that you want, so you need to increase the customers that you've got so you can scale your business. So in order for you to do that, little increases in each of the areas that I've gone through can multiply to create a sizable increase of profit. Because who wouldn't like 50% increase in their profit? So when we really look at profit growth and how we actually strategize to actually get growth, it's important to understand that we are already so busy, so don't have the time for really large projects. You've got a goal that you need to get to. You know, for many of us, we're time poor. We don't have the resources. There's lack of funding. Not to be a Debbie Downer or be really negative, you know, just trying to explain, like, and think about and strategize. How do we get out of that? How do we get out of that hamster wheel? Okay, so you're already busy, you've got projects, if you've got SOS, shiny object syndrome, you've got joint ventures and partnerships going on, you might have children, there's a lot going on. So it's about really chunking out and thinking, how can I increase profits with manageable steps without blowing the budget? Because many of us don't have that budget to start off with. So it's about asking questions. It's about having a mindset that says, okay, where am I? Let's put it out here. You know, what are my outgoings? What have I got? What have I haven't got? What do I need? And really understanding what are my goals? What are my goals in, like I said, the next 90 days, 12 months? Let's start reaching some of our goals, because the more you reach them, the more you want to set more and the more you want to do. And that's when you really start to make progress. But we've got to start somewhere on this journey, and it has to be a place of self-belief. It has to be a place of, oh my gosh, this plan can get me to where I'm going. It has to have loads of baby steps in there. That's how it works. And for each step we take, we're learning from them, and then you can implement those learnings. When we just try to jump in the deep end without really understanding, you know, we've never dived before, we can swim, so we know it might look simple enough. You start getting into deep waters and you start getting into areas where you're not quite sure of. Fear creeps in, and fear is your enemy. Okay, we want to learn from any mistakes that we make. We want to embrace them. But if we're doing this at bite-sized steps and little steps, it just means, sorry, you can track what you're doing, which really gives you the ability to fix and then move on. So you don't fall into that entrepreneurial trap that some of you may be in, where you're constantly taking 5 steps forward, then 3 or 4 steps back. And that cycle just keeps continuing. So when it comes to increasing profit and increasing margins and having that business that you want to satisfy your goals, it's important to be able to put and look at all these different areas and think, how am I going to solve these problems to reach the goals that I set, so you don't fall into the failure cycle and start procrastinating and either start avoiding, blaming, not being excited anymore, and then you just keep moving on to something else. You'll just move on to something else, and then you'll start a new plan and something new to get excited about, and you just keep following that pattern. And I know for me, for many years, I followed that pattern with entrepreneurialism. You know, my first successful business that I actually sold for $500,000 was actually a cleaning business, and that just took me back to my grassroots, and I needed that experience. I needed at that time to be humbled. But you don't want to make the mistakes that I've made. There's an opportunity to create wealth in this digital world, and it's about using traditional strategies and understanding how do those work digitally. And when you do that, that's when the magic happens. And that is what Women in Digital Business is about. It's about a place to come to actually get a plan together. So if you did get funding, you did get money, or your business is successful, it will scale because it's running the way that it should be. It's running for growth. And you can build an empire for whatever reason, whether it's financial freedom, it's to help the community, for whatever reason you want. Okay, but that multiplier effect comes from you setting the right goals. So if you're not getting the inquiries, we need to work on that. You know, more inquiries equals more customers equals more sales, equals more revenue and more sales equals more profit. And then you've got the time and the stress that goes with that, and then keep looking at that model and fine-tuning it and tweaking it, but also understanding the customer journey. What journey am I taking my customer through to constantly give me more customers, which gives me more sales, which gives me more profit, and gets me to look at the business and think, how can I spend less time and stress doing what I'm doing to automate it? That's what makes a digital business successful. What we've got to learn, our problem that we've just got to overcome, is really understanding our customer. And those are some of the things that we're going to be covering in the masterclasses to come. Okay, so 90 days, it could be you want to plan, you want to position yourself, you want to make sure you got the right team, you want to work on conversion, selling, you know, expert, what knowledge am I missing? What's my average dollar sale? Knowing the numbers, repeating the sales, repeating what you're doing, automating it, technology, you know, margins, cash flow, having systems in place. The digital world helps loads of systems, understanding data analysis, you know, understanding how to use it. It gives you more clues into how you could be selling more and not leaving money on the table. These are all the things that are really going to catapult you. So stay with us, because we'll be looking at a lot of them in detail. But this is just an overview, these areas that require strategic thinking. So little by little, you do build your power when you start to understand how important growth planning is to just be able to make sure your goals turn into a reality. You know, understand what your goals are from the beginning, because that the focus that it will give you is what's really going to get you through. So I'd like you to join me next week. If you haven't signed up already, please do sign up for next week's masterclass, which is all about the billionaire mindset. It's all about our relationship with money and looking at that relationship in money as we grow in our digital businesses. So Princess will put the link in the chat, but do not forget to subscribe to YouTube so you can watch this replay, and also check out our other programs. And as we do a masterclass, if you can't make it for any reason, you'll be able to watch the replay on YouTube, and it will alert you if you just subscribe. So please make sure you subscribe to our channel. And for those of you that are feeling like, okay, you resonated with a lot that I'm saying and you're still feeling a bit stuck and you're not sure where to go, I just want to introduce to you our digital bootcamp. I'm actually going to give you the punchline first, because this is not a hard sell at all, at all. It's just an investment of $27, and we've done that on purpose because I believe in you. I want to build a community of underrepresented women that have got some of the greatest businesses, that venture capitalists are coming to us and saying, we want some of the women in your community because they're renowned for having great businesses. I want the unseen to be seen. I'm on a mission here. So we've priced it at that price because it gives you absolutely amazing value, where I'm going to empower you because I want you to empower yourselves. But it's not for everyone. So if you're unsure, or worse, you've just got no idea to begin. So whether you started your business or not, if you're not getting the results that you want from it and you just kind of lost with it and you're unsure where to go, you need some type of structure. If you don't know what your business needs the most, so you've been trying loads of things and you're not sure what it needs from what it doesn't, you know, once it's a great idea, you get great feedback, but you're just not seeing the results. Okay. If you don't understand your audience, like if you're finding that, okay, everything is as it should be, but your audience just don't seem to be interested in what you're selling, 9 times out of 10, for most businesses, by the way, there's often a miscommunication there. But if you're not really understanding who your audience is, because maybe you're not your audience, or maybe you are your audience, you're assuming everyone's like you when everyone's different. If you've tried everything on your own, like you just feel like you're out here, you haven't got anybody, you're feeling lonely, or trying everything, you might have people in your environment saying to you, you know, why are you still focusing on this? Just go and get a qualification or go and get a job. And they're not really, you know, you're just feeling like you're out here on your own, nothing's actually working, but you don't want to give up. That's entrepreneurialism, baby. You know, if you're struggling to sustain and boost your monthly revenues, if you've got a business that you work solely on and the money just isn't coming in the way that you need it to come in, because we all need to live, I would love to invite you to the ultimate online business bootcamp. So it's a digital bootcamp. It's online. So you can do it at your own pace, but it is for 3 days. You should mark 3 days for a couple of hours out of your calendar and do it. It comes with worksheets and workbooks. So at the end of it, you are left being very clear about who your audience is, who your brand is. You understand exactly what a sales funnel is and customer mapping is. You understand how not to leave money on the table, meaning that you look at how to increase your customers' transaction size and frequency, and look at actual strategies behind selling and not leaving money on the table, and just being able to look at the strategies that we're talking about, real life case studies where it works. You can see like, yeah, it isn't just a myth. I get it. I see it. Because once you get it, you're going to start to see in a lot of businesses exactly what they do in terms of customer mapping and getting the customer from one point to another. So it's called customer mapping, it's called the customer value journey, it's called a digital sales funnel. Ultimately, they all mean the same thing. It's strategically planning out how you're going to get your customer from awareness into a sale to keep repeat buying and help you bring more customers into your funnel. And this bootcamp has been put together so you can really identify the right winning product and offer. So sometimes you've got a product, but it's not packaged in the right way. Okay, maybe your business model doesn't suit the audience or what you're selling. So it's really important that you identify the right market, a winning product, and the perfect offer. Okay, you really understand how to get more sales, like starting to think about sales a bit differently, understanding every business has to have a sales process to bring the customers in, which bring money in. So understanding how do you bring customers in, what's working, what's not working, you know, using data insights, looking at your competition, what are they doing, we should be doing that, or we should be doing more. So it really, really helps you to get to understand like how you're going to make profit and how you're going to sell. And it really gets you to you'll be able to copyright after this digital bootcamp, because you'll understand so much about your audience with all the exercises that we do, or there's loads of questions that you're asked. You've got to answer them there and then. You fill in a workbook, so at the end of it you are very clear on who your customer is. You've got a whole profile of who they are psychologically, so now it makes it really easy to put content together or to put copy together for your audience, because you'll understand them on much more of a deeper level. You won't be saying to yourself, what do I think? You'll get into the mode of thinking, well, what would my customer think? Because you've done the research behind who they are. You understand your market now in terms of the product that you're offering and how to package it and what business model. And then you'll also understand exactly what a digital sales funnel is, which is what you will then build out to make sure you've got constant leads that turn into sales. So the boot camp is that first part of understanding that you're in the right marketplace, you're marketing to the right customer, and you actually understand what a funnel is, so you can start building that strategy out to make sure that your business then becomes profitable and viable. Okay, so I'm not going to bang on for too much. You get a whole load of bonuses with it as well. You know, how to build an email list, how to launch your product, how to build a lead magnet, which is something that you put together to get subscribers. You know, what optimization is. It just really sets the foundation of your digital business, of really understanding, are you in the right place? Are you marketing to the right customers? How have you put together your product or service? Is it solving a pain or a challenge in your customer's life? How are you showing that through your brand, through your design? Okay, this is all the foundation part that if it's not done properly, you could have started selling, but you're having problems. And by fixing these things, you'll notice a huge difference. If you haven't started at all, it just means you'll be started on a really good structure. Okay, so that's what you'll learn across the first 3 days. And here is a QR code. Simply scan the screen. The URL is on the screen as well. And Princess is also going to put a link to the bootcamp in the chat. I'm not going to speak any more about that. Like I said, it's $27. It's there to get you on the right path, and it's not there for you to devalue what we've done and think, oh, can it be that good if it's $27? We've priced it at that amount, so globally every woman can afford this, whether you were from Africa, which a lot of our following are from, Asia, the Caribbean, and then if you're in the UK, even better. Okay, it's priced that way to really give people an opportunity and give you the nuggets you need without overcharging and serving my audience. I want to rise an army of women up. We want to be that go-to place that, you know, if you are looking for business women that exceed and underrepresented women, come to this community. Right.